Good evening, Nottingham. I'm going to call to order the Monday, April 7th Select Board meeting. You could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's okay, sit down for a second.
I
Pledge
pledge allegiance
to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Manifests payroll for the 31st and April 1st. Anybody have any questions on that?
I did look at the electric bill for Marston and compared it to the sand pit. And it looks like we used like 84 kilowatts at Marston and 28 at the pit. I thought Marston was turned off.
It is.
Yeah, there's nothing on over
So
there.
that seems really wacky.
Either that or somebody's plugging into the outside outlet.
Yeah.
That's a ton of electricity.
It is.
Huh?
That
It's
would
a
be
lot
a
of
ton
electricity.
compared to a three-phase compactor and everything.
The well's not even being used.
Yeah, I know. So-
Everything's shut down. There's no heater anymore. The irrigation system isn't even going to be repowered for another 3 weeks.
Mhm.
So
Because it dropped significantly for a while.
it did.
there.
Right, I mean, it dropped quite a bit, but still, then it's like, it was, several bucks higher. And I was like, so I asked Betsy for the actual bills, and it showed 64 versus 28. I'm like, that's more than twice as much. Not that
So we're
it's
looking
very,
into-
not that it's very much.
It's
but
enough.
It should be basically zero.
Zero, yeah.
Yeah, we should be getting I think the base minimum charge is $35 a month and then
Right.
plus a little bit of a surcharge, but there's no reason why anything
So
should be powered
something
on at this point.
definitely is not right.
Right.
Other than that, I make a motion that we approve the manifests and payroll for 3/31 and 4/1.
A second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. With the payment for that Mr. Decker had brought up at the last meeting for school moderator for the elections, did you ever get an answer on that?
Yes, I did. So the payment was for her service as a ballot clerk. It had nothing to do with the moderator position.
There we go. Minutes for our March 17th meeting. Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the public and non-public minutes from March 17th.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What was the date on that? Sorry.
March 17th.
Thank you.
Feels like forever ago.
Assigned boards and committees.
All right, so from planning board, we met on the 19th, which basically was the new member meeting. Teresa is chair, Drew is vice chair, and Chris is secretary. We also met on the 26th, which was our first real meeting, and we had a walkthrough on this past Saturday, the 5th, at 35 Deerfield Road. Our next meeting is this Wednesday. It's a tough week this week, where first Monday and second Wednesday are in the same week.
Busy week for you.
Yep. And nothing on CIP. We'll probably won't do anything on that for a
Summer.
little bit.
I do have a report from the police department.
Mhm.
I met with Chief Woodman on April 4th, and we agreed to meet monthly. Both of us have the same vision of what the liaison position should be, and I got to meet the new utility terrain vehicle, which was pretty impressive, and I think will be very useful.
Take you for a ride on it?
No,
Oh.
I just met it.
As the liaison, I would suggest that's something you have the ability to do.
I think I should, actually. Yeah, the side-by-side seat is nice, but I really can see the usefulness if somebody breaks a leg or something out on the trails and the area that they cover, so I think it will be really useful. They are very happy to announce that they finally have a website, and that is www.nottinghampolicedepartment.com.
All spelled out.
All spelled out.
It's on my computer.
There you go. Very good. And they're hoping to keep up with that and reach out more to the public. Let's see, what else? They wanted to let us know that there was going to be the Drug Take Back Day. That's for legal drugs that are not, that are either expired or won't be used. And you can bring them to the police station on April 26th between 10 and 2, and they'll dispose of them for you. They also are going to have a community evening, again, I forget, National Night Out, that they had 2 years ago, but we weren't able to have last year because of budget cuts. And that was really successful for community outreach. That's going to be on August 5th from 5 to 9, rain or shine. And they've got the UNH police coming, and they'll have fireworks at the end.
What is the date, when is the time?
From 5 to 9 on August 5th.
There will be fireworks, cool.
There will be fireworks as well. We talked a little bit about the vision statement, which she's completed, and how to give more factual and statistical information out to the community.
Cool. Wonderful.
I did have a phone call with Chief Curry, and I expressed my concern about meetings being on Tuesdays, and he wasn't concerned with that. If I don't go to any, he's fine with that. So we have each other's phone number and stuff now. And he did say radios came in on the 1st.
Wonderful.
I have not made it over to the highway department yet. They're out before I get over there, and so I'm gonna hopefully next week get a chance to get over there. But I'll run through Steve's report from the rec department. So this is from Courtney Doro, and the You've Been Egged on Friday, April 11th. Registration is required.
What is this event?
That's the You've Been Egged, and it's for preschool to 5th grade. The rec will bring eggs to your yard for only $5. There is an egg hunt here on Saturday, April 12th. Registration is encouraged. Again, preschool to 5th grade. That'll start at 9:30 a.m. The gym will be open with activities. There'll be some live baby animals. It's the first egg hunt begins at 10 a.m. Legacy lunch for 55 plus. It's Wednesday, April 16th, 10 a.m. Coffee hour with the library. We have Community Cleanup Day on Saturday, April 19th. Registration is available online, or you can sign in the day of. Looking for volunteers to help with the disc golf trail construction at Marston, garden cleanout at the town hall, field prep work with the NYA, and cleaning up the grounds at the library. There is April Vacation Camp. That's from April 28th to May 2nd. Pre-registration required, K through 5th grade. There is a fee for the week. The shade structures from the same company that we got the playground from will be here on May 15th and 16th and installed. And the target date for
Were they installing something?
the shade structures out back,
Oh, we voted, yes, voted. I'm sorry.
down by the play structure. And then the target date for the community mural paint day is June 14th. And if it looks like rain is predicted, they have the option to move it to the weekend of the 7th. I wasn't sure if it's June 7th or July 7th. I would assume if it's gonna rain, it would go later. Usually predictions that far out are not accurate. I think that pretty much covers everything for rec from Courtney.
Matt, I missed What was that group you started off with? What is that, and are they gonna do another one?
Which one?
You've been egged.
You've been
Oh,
egged.
you've been egged.
Yeah, you can pay $5 and the rec department will go and put some plastic eggs, I believe, on yards.
What is it called, youth and what?
You've been egged. So like you look out,
EGG.
like you look outside and you see plastic eggs on your yard. It's kind of like the flamingo thing that went around a few years ago.
Youth and eggs?
You've. The two U's. That's all I got.
I'm too old for the egg hunt.
Yeah, just missed out. We had our second master planning committee meeting last week. I was not able to attend. I started watching the video though. It's just a lot of information to pull together, and that's essentially what's happening now is pulling all the data together. But since it's been 15 years since the last one, a lot of changes. So very early stages, but I think it's going to be a lot of work, but it'll be worth it.
I agree, I'm on that committee. It's overwhelming, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot. So all good though. Ellen.
Thank you. Just an update on the baler at the recycling center. Atlantic Recycling came out to assess the damage. Obviously, we had a crack in the main beam above the sliding gate that goes up. Their recommendation was that it be decommissioned, removed, repaired, possibly even potential need for replacement, which they did have a used baler on site for about $6,000 as a worst case scenario. So obviously that's something to consider if we're lucky enough when the time comes. But fortunately, the highway department also went over and assessed it, and we have a very capable crew and a welder. So they were actually able to complete the repair. They mobilized the welder on site, reinforced the broken beam with some additional steel, welded it, repaired it. I don't have a final cost for the repair. It was the cost of installing a 220 outlet just so we could hook the welder in close to the baler, because obviously all the 220 outlets are being consumed by the balers and they have a different plug. So it was the cost of that plus the steel. And then of course, our labor was consumed within highway department staff. So we're very fortunate to have a very capable crew, which potentially saved the town a significant amount of money, if not, a replacement of the baler. So that was put back into service. It went down officially, I think, on a Saturday, and it was back up and running the following Thursday. So there was really minimal impact. So,
So are you looking into the cost for a potential replacement?
well, I wanted to put it out there. We've talked about, we have a much older baler that we're still using. Obviously, we have one for the plastics, one for the carton. Well, we're keeping the plastic separated. We have the number one and the PET, and then the cardboard. If we wanted to bale the plastics even more separately, if we wanted to separate the colored out from the clear to potentially give us more recycling revenue, what it does is it causes them to have to store bags up overhead separately. And then of course we've talked about, the fact that they have to keep them in the bags because the containers aren't properly emptied. But if we ever did want to investigate that option, there is potentially room within the existing space that we could add a fourth baler. It's food for discussion. The baler that Atlantic Recycling has, it was $6,000. I think it was like a 1995 model year, but it had already been gone through. It's fully functional. If we're looking at a new baler, we're going to be well in excess of $20,000. And I don't even know if that's a realistic price. That was from 2 years ago, when we initially talked about putting a smaller baler in for the aluminum cans. And push came to shove on that cans are they generate more revenue in their non-crushed state, so.
Do they?
They do.
What was the used one cost?
$6,000. So obviously that's based on availability. They just happen to have one in stock, but it is something to think about.
And it was a vertical baler, not a
Yes.
horizontal.
Correct. I did request specs on it just so we could look into it further. I haven't received those back yet.
Okay.
I assumed they did have one listed on their website, but I didn't want to assume that that was the one because it didn't really have any price identification to it, so we'll see. I can keep you updated on that.
Okay.
Upon the recommendation of our highway director, Steve Rollins, the 26,000 pound weight limit on town roads was lifted last Tuesday, April 1st. So That is no longer in place. The frost is no longer a threat, and the roads seem to be in pretty good condition, albeit all this rain that we're getting that's making them soupy and lots of puddles. Just a quick update. Starting July 1st of this year, it will be illegal to put rechargeable lithium-ion batteries in the trash. They must be recycled through a special battery collection programs and never mixed with regular recyclables. This was a new disposal ban that was put in place under RSA 149-M:27 to help to reduce the risk of fires at solid waste facilities. We all know that lithium-ion batteries they can be dangerous, especially if they're not disposed of, even just in regular working condition, whether it's a computer or an MDT like what happened in our police cruiser. So just for safety and to stop that risk of fire, we will be posting notice at the recycling center and on the town website, and obviously putting our best foot forward in making sure that those are disposed of properly. You really have to look at all of the items that contain lithium-ion batteries, whether it's a computer or a cell phone or even a scooter. So they're just really trying to get that information out there. Northeast Recycling is really good. They have some good handouts, so we're going to try to utilize their programs to help get the word out. For those of you that may not have heard, there's a legislative update that comes out from New Hampshire Municipal Association, bills that are being passed through the House and Senate. There is one that could potentially negatively impact the town, and that's Senate Bill 297. It just went before the House last week. It was going through with an ought to pass through Senate prior to that, and really everybody's just kind of coming up to speed. It was brought up February 25th initially, and it was, of course, when everybody was still in town meeting deliberative session mode, so it just kind of slid under the radar. But Health Trust provides the town with our health insurance, dental benefit, short-term, long-term disability, life insurance benefit to our employees. It's going to impact them. The bill proposes a reserve level that's likely too low to handle unexpected claims. If those claims end up being higher than expected, Health Trust would need to go back to the participating organizations like us as a town for the additional fees to cover the gap. This could become a recurring issue with Health Trust repeatedly underfunded and relying on public entities to stay afloat. If the bill passes the House in 2026, the town would be required to establish a capital reserve fund equal to 1% of its annual Health Trust contributions each year, building up to a total of 4%. And then if their reserves fall below a certain threshold, they would bill the town for the shortfall. Bless you.
Thank you.
If the town couldn't pay for it, it could be dropped from the program entirely. The status of the bill, March 27th, it was introduced in recess of 32725 and referred to the Commerce and Consumer Affairs. So this is, it's spreading through schools, municipalities, everybody affected like wildfire, with encouraging efforts to notify our local representatives that we oppose this. Health Trust is putting out a lot of information. The Secretary of State's office is rebutting a lot of that information. Actuaries are involved. It's really questionable whether or not Health Trust will be able to prevail from this. There's been a lot of talk that, if this bill does pass, they will likely have to close their doors. So what that means for the town is we might have to seek alternative options for our insurance program into a small risk pool. We get a great service for our employees, or a great benefit for our employees at a lower cost than we would as a small employer trying to navigate the market commercially. So if you haven't had a chance to really look into this, I will certainly forward the information. Definitely look out at New Hampshire Municipal. They've got probably the most updated information. But I just wanted to bring this up because it's real, and it's not looking good for small municipalities such as ourselves.
Do you know what?
The cost analysis will be, I hope you're not gonna ask that.
Yeah, like what is 1%?
What's going to be our impact? I don't have those figures pulled together yet.
Well,
but
what we pay is like $85,000 a year
Okay, that is just that.
$85,000.
for health insurance premiums to Health Trust. Isn't that what we pay?
No, it's more than that.
Oh, it is.
It's much more than that.
Okay, so,
So they give you 4 years to set up that 4% pool.
If it passes.
I've tried to follow most of the
More like-
correspondence that's
it's more
been
like
issued by,
Self-insurance, basically, is what
Right.
they're turning this into. Self-insured pool. Kind of weird, in a weird way.
most of the correspondence that Health Trust has issued on this, which I've included in the back of the packet this here. This is like a little informational bulletin. This was, published on March 11th, so it was obviously before it got to the Senate, and there were some amendments made to the bill. But
What's the purpose?
what is the purpose?
Yeah, I guess
like,
if
what's the verbiage of the Senate bill?
is it to, if it's not lowering, it's increasing the costs of the town.
It's not just Health Trust, it's all small risk pools. It's just Health Trust in
It's
particular
ours. Okay.
happens to be affected by it. I believe the other one that's out there, which is also very competitive, municipal and school-wide, is interlocal trust. That's one of the other competitors.
In theory, it should end up to be cheaper, just that you have to set up these funds. So that's gonna take the 4 years, it'll be more expensive to put those funds aside.
Is it basically like if you go to the police department and take their health and dental and then go to each area health and dental? Or,
You're trying to look at the budget.
Oh, wait.
for it.
So our health and dental is 467,000.
okay, that's total right there, PA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. 467. No, it's gotta go up to.
So I will keep you
Okay.
updated, and if you, like I said, if you haven't seen the information, there is a news link bulletin that goes through with all of these bills that are passed through, or up and coming, things that New Hampshire Municipal lobbies for on the behalf of municipalities. So if you're not receiving that correspondence, please let me know, and I'll make sure that you're signed up to it.
It might be, but it might be some of the things that I'm not necessarily paying attention to,
Right.
because it's like, oh, what's this spam thing?
All right. So, let's see. Just for your information, an application's been submitted to the Piscataqua Region Estuaries Partnership, which is acronym PREP, requesting a $25,000 grant to support the update of the town's natural resources inventory and natural resources chapter of the town's master plan. This effort's being led in collaboration with the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, with technical assistance being provided by our rep at Stratford Regional Planning Commission. The goal of the project is to ensure the town's planning documents reflect the current data and best practices for the protection and management of local natural resources. And of course, this is another grant that helps us update another section of the town's master plan. So I just wanted to let you know that I did sign the application on behalf of the town. Obviously, if we get to the point of award, because it is over the $10,000, we'd have to follow the statutory requirements and hold a public hearing just to inform the public and let them know what the grant's purpose is and formally accept it by that process. Under another FYI, I spoke with Steve Rollins this morning. He just wanted to give an update on where we're at with Spring Road maintenance and what the plan is. So I apologize if this continues to be a run-on, but I just kind of threw my thoughts while he was talking into my report. So they are currently performing ditching, brush removal, and tree cutting along Lucas Pond Road in preparation for the paving of that road this year. There's a quarter-mile section that's in the town of Deerfield that delaminated, much like Deerfield Road did. It's actually Lucas Pond Road. It's probably in worse shape than Deerfield might have been. So they are really trying to get that prepped. He would like to see the paving take place sooner than later. We don't want to be a last on the list fall project again. Additionally, he is still waiting for a decision, or a decision is still pending for the work on Stevens Hill Road. He would obviously still like to proceed with reconstruction and paving the section that goes from the existing pavement to Deerfield Road. There was question that was presented at deliberative session from our then legal counsel as to whether or not Article 22 would cancel out Article 12 in the event that it failed, which it did. Under the no means no statute, I've run it by our present, or our new legal counsel, and he is of a different opinion, thinking that it was the will of the voters to not pass Article 22 because it was redundant of Article 12, which I think that was the general consensus of both you as the select board and the budget committee when it was coming forward, which is why it didn't go through with a recommendation on top of the fact that, we were trying to meet the tax cap. But his interpretation, his legal interpretation is that we could still proceed because even though Article 22 failed, it failed for the reason not that the people didn't want the work performed, they just didn't want to raise the additional money by taxation that was already included in Article 12. So I guess my question to you tonight is how you want to proceed, if you want to go with our new legal counsel's interpretation of that, or if we take it a step further and maybe put it to a public hearing and let the residents determine the fate of whether or not that section gets reconstructed and paved as per planned.
That might be a good idea, just because we've got two separate opinions.
And what we explained to the voters before the election was one thing,
Right.
and now we're telling them something else.
Right.
And that's my thought process. I was trying to get a third opinion to bring New Hampshire Municipal Association in and kind of get their, I have to ask very not specific questions to them, but I don't have a response back. I didn't have a response back in time for this meeting, so that was the only way that I could think of that would be best to proceed, where we do have the differing opinions, and to give the public the opportunity to step forward and say, yes, like, I would be in favor of doing that.
I feel that NHMA would probably be more towards the no means no, based on previous seminars and things.
Mhm. Or we just decide that,
So you hold a public hearing, and, I mean, it's just based upon the feedback of the people that show up.
Correct.
It's not-
that way if anybody ever challenged it, you could say,
Right.
okay, like,
We
we,
had a public
We
hearing.
do have, yeah.
Right.
In other words, it's not binding?
Excuse me?
Well,
The public hearing would not be binding.
No, but you're getting the feedback from the voters and you're making the decision public.
Right, we're making the decision public, and it would protect us.
yeah, it seems like the right thing to
Somebody
do.
challenged
Yeah.
it.
Confusion.
And we're not spending more money than it's been
Right.
allotted, it's just the purpose.
Yeah.
because the way Article 12 is written, it identifies those three roads, but it also says that it could be any other road as prioritized by the highway director, which that's where he's kind of up in the air, because he's like, if I proceed forward with work on Stevens Hill Road, then I'm not gonna try to reallocate the money to do something to another road, like, let's say Ledge Farm Road for an example. But there are certainly other roads that could use that money as well. It's just a matter of whether they move up on the priority list.
Right, what needs it more?
So would you like to do that?
If you could have, because I did read his response, is just maybe have him elaborate a little bit more
Okay.
on his response.
He's really good by phone, not so much by email.
Okay,
So I will. I'll actually have him write up a letter of opinion to you.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
But maybe some examples potentially.
All right. As far as action items, there were 3 requests that came through for alternate library trustees upon recommendation of the library trustees. They would be for 1-year terms expiring March 31st, 2026. The 3 individuals that they have interested are Karen Quinn, Allison Friend Gray, and Christine DeBrio. So I'd be looking for a motion to follow through with the appointments of those 3 people as alternate library trustees.
What was the third one?
Christine DeBrio.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Karen Quinn, Allison Friend Gray, and Christine DeBrio as alternate library trustees for the year ending March 31st, 2026.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. I believe at the March 3rd meeting, we talked about the volunteer fire assistance grant that the fire department had applied for to get some new uniform attire. I think it was PPE approved attire for the forestry department. It was a $4,000 grant with half of that, 50% of that coming back. The contract is in the signature file, and I would just need a motion to accept the following resolution. Somebody can read it for the volunteer firefighter assistance grant. It's part of the minutes record for that particular grant, so I would need somebody to sign that and resolve that perhaps the chair be the authorized signer of that contract.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the following resolution for the volunteer fire assistance grant. Be it resolved, Tim DeBrio, Select Board Chair, is duly authorized to enter into contracts and agreements on behalf of the town of Nottingham with the state of New Hampshire, acting by and through the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and is further authorized to execute any documents on behalf of the municipality which may be, in his judgment, desirable or necessary to effect the purpose of this resolution.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and lastly, on to your correspondence. There was an email from Gene Reed requesting some assessing reports. This was, he was looking for pre-revaluation data, which I've supplied to him. I don't believe there's any further action that's required at this point. We did receive in person a packet from a Jim Hadley regarding Co-Brown surplus policy, or lack thereof is the subject matter. He did originally have an appointment scheduled for this evening, but he had to cancel as he's working out some details with the Northwood School Board. There were several pieces of correspondence that were followed up after that by email that I forwarded to you. And I just didn't know if you have any response or comment that I can circulate back to him as he's navigating through most of the affected towns, select boards and school boards.
Is he just coming for an awareness thing? Because we have no
Right.
Well, I
no
think,
standing over the school board
Yeah.
whatsoever.
I mean, I called Ellen when I saw it, because I think it's more appropriate for him to present something to the school board prior to even coming here, because it's out of our jurisdiction. I mean, I know it's for taxpayers to understand, that's important, but I'm not
I think
sure.
that was the biggest reason for coming to you was for the awareness of, every other entity, when they have a surplus of funds, it's always returned back to the town so that it can go back to the taxpayers. Where in this case, where you're a public-private entity, they're not returning any surplus funds.
Has Dover High School, well, no, I don't have to discuss it.
Right,
Yeah.
Right, but that's
I mean,
a
we have
public.
contracts with these towns, so it's a school board thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would be.
I mean, if somebody wants to go to the school board and complain about the condition of the roads because the buses are having trouble going down, I don't think they would do that.
Okay. And then there were various emails from Health Trust and the Secretary of State regarding House Bill 297 that we just discussed that I've been trying to forward to you, but I've missed quite a few of them as I haven't really caught up on all of it either, but I'll continue to forward that. And lastly, I will be requesting that I have items in preparation for an evening meeting well in advance of the day of the meeting, but I included, but I didn't really summarize it. We got the updated pricing for the grader. Again, this is using state bid pricing, so the options that Steve Rollins has investigated are Caterpillar, John Deere, Volvo is no longer making a grader, and then Komatsu. So going back to Windmill Equipment, which was the original company that he received a quote from back in December, they were able to continue to honor the state bid pricing with no increase. There is question of whether tariffs and additional trucking or freight is going to be involved, but they are going to honor the original quote that was given to us back in December at $464,000. So that's the base grader, and then equipped to the specification that he is requesting for Nottingham's roads. You had also asked that we obtain a valuation on our current grader, and its value, according to them, is $23,600. And I will just make you aware that we put in $20,000 into repairs in the year 2024. So his thought process is to continue to use the grader, obviously running two of the new one and the old one in tandem, which will be able to address more roads on a regular basis.
So,
I know we got enough people to
Yes.
qualify, but have we got enough people to actually run those two graders and actually get the rest of the work done that needs to be done?
Well, that's their plan. That's the hope. I think I actually, did I skip over? I did skip over.
yeah, you
I
missed
skipped over a huge portion of his update as we kind of got off on Stevens Hill Road. So what they're working on right now is they're continuing their efforts on brush and tree removal town-wide in advance of roadside mowing, which he's hoping to have the entire town mowed this year because it was deferred for so many years. Just doing a small amount of roads each year is not going to keep up with it. So grading's going to commence as soon as the weather allows. We get a day of rain, a day for it to dry out, it rains again, just as they're getting ready to plan for grading. But the plan is to start with the main dirt roads, getting the most amount of commuting traffic, and then moving to the less traveled, quote unquote, and I will use this lightly, camp roads, lake roads. So the plan is to gravel where needed, add gravel. We have a lot, especially those camp roads that I was referring to. A lot of them don't have a lot of material left. They're down to ledge in areas, so he'd like to hammer out the problematic ledge, add gravel, roll them with the roller because that really packs the road down. And then he has a delivery of magnesium chloride coming tomorrow, which he's going to apply for both dust control and surface stabilization. So continuing with the ditching efforts, the more that they can get wrapped up when they're not grading, the better will be. But progressively, it's going to be, working and focusing on those main roads and then working to the outlying roads, probably starting on the North River Lake, West Nottingham end, because that's always the one that gets touched last. And it's the quickest section for him to deal with. So he was going to start there, and then obviously addressing the problematic roads as they're coming up and requiring attention. We know that Mindell's in the queue, which, we're up in the air with the maintenance of the Raymond section. We had an issue with Saks. There's a culvert issue there that they had to address this morning. There was actually a sinkhole that started just from poor flow, and it was able to fill itself in and not be problematic, but we did still have quite a bit of runoff from that. So they're identifying, they've identified most of the issues. It's just a matter of dealing with them, prioritizing, and then keeping up with the regular maintenance end of it. But he did seem to think that having the two graders, once they're at that point of not really in dire straits of repair, that they can make them both work effectively.
right.
So the old one is back in use now?
Yes.
So let's say even today, we were to vote, approve it, we call them up, they put it into the system. When's the best timeline that we would even see the new one?
2 to 3 months.
Yeah. So the old one's gonna be put in service, we don't even know if it'll be usable by the end of 2 or 3 months, hopefully it'll be. If we happen to have to, I think the point is it's only worth $20,000, it's not even,
Do we still have the quotes from the other
Yes. Yep.
that we could look at?
Yep.
Before we approve?
but, I'm just saying, like, we have, all the members of the department right now are
Equipment operators.
equipment operators,
Or
grader
grader
operators.
operators.
So, if we're able to do it, then I don't think we're gonna get 5 years out of it, but maybe we would be lucky to. Sounds like he's got a lot of work to go here.
I just think one grader, if we ran it well, not constantly, but fairly regularly, it would be suitable for our needs versus having two that are only running a couple days a week.
I think we just end up with,
I get it.
the new one's gonna end up covering all of our needs. The old one, we're just gonna limp along until it doesn't work.
At any rate, it's a moot point at this point, because it's
It's gonna be months
2 to
before
3
we even,
months down the road.
yeah.
But I would like to see the other bids before we make a decision on.
For the John Deere and the,
Right.
Were you looking for the,
Personal opinion.
were you looking for the,
This is all
pre?
new today, so I expect you to want to digest it and refer back to the other quotes that we received.
and when it comes to the warranties, since the $467,000 that was in the warrant article, we can't spend more than that.
Correct, so we would have to find the money for the
Yeah.
extended if we wanted. I know that was one of the questions that came up with on deliberative session, so I made sure that he got that information about what warranty and service is included in the purchase, and then what we would be looking at for an extended contract. And I did want to just touch on the reason, I know that there's been question about why he's leaning towards a Komatsu versus the other, and honestly, his opinion today was it's in the cost of maintenance and the availability of parts. We have a cat loader and a backhoe, and the last maintenance was $3,000 on, I think it was the backhoe. I could be mistaken, it could have been on the loader, but one of them, and he just said that they're escalating, and then the parts availability, nothing, it just doesn't seem to be there. He has very good luck with Windmill Equipment, who's our local Komatsu, or closer to us, Komatsu dealer. He said it speaks volume just having the servicing dealership being close by, because they have treated him very well. And again, it's, the piece of equipment that you purchase, not to say that any brand is not good, it's just, it's a preference. We have cat equipment, he has, various in his private company that he's used throughout the year. No one is really better than the other, it's just a matter of the maintenance and the parts
Service.
availability.
Were the prices similar, do you know?
They're all, the base unit is all based on that state bid pricing, so
Okay.
they all start at the same base level, and then it's just a
Okay.
matter of equipping it.
Right, we want to make sure we're looking apples to apples, that the John Deere and the Cat are
Right.
equipped.
It's the same.
Yeah.
All right, so I will pull together those quotes for you and make sure you get them. I think that was it for my report.
Any other questions for Alan?
Excuse me.
Thank you, Alan. General business, 2025 Q1 operating budget review.
Sessom, you jumped past the Sessom.
Oh, I did pass assessing.
I was bringing him up to
Sorry.
verify that I'd looked at.
There's just that one assessing thing, right?
There should be three.
Four.
There's four.
Oh, in the veterans tax credit.
I went through, just make sure.
That's probably the abatement I was thinking about.
All right. Were there any questions or debate on any of them before?
Nope.
Can we get a motion?
Oh, yeah, I was just making sure before I said that, and then somebody popped up a question. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the veterans tax credit for map 16, lot 17.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to approve the service-connected total disability credit, and that's for map 67, lot 7.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the request for abatement, map 4, lot 18-7.
Second that?
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'd make a motion to approve the intent to excavate map 69, lot 10.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I guess we'll keep them going in order here. Action items from last meeting. So we have, our next meeting, New Hampshire DOT is still scheduled to come
Correct.
to discuss the Cooper Hill intersection of, Cooper Hill Route 4, 152.
When's that, Tim?
Our next meeting, April 21st.
Thank you.
It's a 7 PM hearing. And then, May 5th, Dave Lancaster with Rocky Hill Road, roadside mowing proposals.
What was that?
Rocky Hill Road, roadside mowing proposals.
Yeah, they're
on
two
May
separate
5th.
items.
Yeah. And then with Mendel Road, I know there was a communication about that too.
Yep, Eric Danis is down for the 21st.
Okay.
Yep, oh, yeah, there it is. It's at the end of the
Oh, yep.
Yep.
Anything else? All right, on to the 2025 Q1 budget review. Anything to highlight, Ellen?
The only thing that I would like to highlight is this does not include the credit card transactions for the department head credit cards. Those weren't in, so they're not posted to this yet. So there'll still be some first quarter
Already hit a first quarter.
purchases that are applied to this. There are a couple of items that you'll see that are already overexpended. One of them is in the printing line for the town clerk, and this is for the ballots. It's just a matter of, it's a bad line item allocation. I think it needs to go into the election budget, so Betsy and I are going through, there are a couple of adjustments, but, you'll see that that one in particular is overspent by $6,533. There was no budget allocated for that line item, so, minor housekeeping.
Which one was that?
That was the town clerk printing. It's 414010-22 on
I'm
the
showing
second
zero.
page.
That's why I was asking, because mine shows 0.
I have the older report before we fixed it.
I was like,
We
don't
did
see-
have, all right.
It's
so
back
can
under, it's under elections.
we-
okay.
There we go.
Still shows it's
Okay.
over budget, but.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I'm working off the old report again. There are some things that need to be cleaned up. We have to bill the school for their portion of the printing of the town report. But other than that, everything seems to be,
So for election, for like the difference from the town and the school, like, do they have a line item that they're gonna reimburse that back for the ballots?
no, because it's the town's responsibility to hold the election. We just hold them simultaneously.
Okay.
If the election was held separately, then it would be done differently, but
Then there'd be other costs incurred with having new, you mentioned the other part for the,
for the town report,
yeah,
yeah, we do split that.
okay.
All right, and of course, we're over on the recycling heat because we ran out of
Yes.
waste oil.
Yes, we ran out of waste oil. My understanding is that the waste oil was burned in the off-season because we had such a surplus of it, but there's supposed to be a certain amount reserved to maintain the fact that we have a waste oil burner to heat the facility during the winter. So we ran out of it. And to be honest with you, there has not been much in terms of the collection, so if anybody has any waste oil kicking around, the recycling center will accept it. You know, it heats it for the winter and saves them from having to purchase diesel fuel to run that waste oil burner. And it's a different viscosity, so we go through more diesel fuel than we do waste oil, so.
Anything else you were concerned about? I know like fire department overtime salary is getting close to,
But the full time is
right.
Again, we
Under.
spent the first quarter, we still had 2 vacancies. They are fully staffed now, going into the fourth quarter, so there were overtime
Yep,
shifts that were picked up to cover those shift voids.
we shouldn't have that moving forward.
Correct. That is the hope.
Okay.
With highway, any concern, I mean, highway fuel, is that accurate? I'm sorry, not fuel, the hired plowing,
Which one? Sorry.
Yes.
hired plowing,
That is accurate.
and the salt too.
Yes. So the salt is, he ran it down and then he filled it at the end of the year and then he's received what he needed. I believe the shed
Is
is
full.
full.
So we should be okay for December.
Correct.
Good, okay.
That's the hopes.
Worked for this year, or last year rather.
It's that 50-50 blend. That's the key. One of the things that I did want to call to your attention as we're going through and reviewing this is the budget that passed was essentially the budget committee's recommended budget. And they had made an effort to increase the stipend of certain appointed positions like the animal control officer, the emergency management director. There was question as to whether there was going to be an increase granted also to
Town clerk.
Yep, the town clerk, I think hers was calculated at $1 an hour increase for both her and the deputy town clerk. That has not gone into effect yet, so, just moving forward. And then the tax collector, I was under the impression from what was presented to the budget committee that it was a 3% increase, but her increase is actually at like 6.6 or 6.8%. So before any of those actual increases take place for the elected officials and the appointed officials, I just wanted to bring it up for transparency and clarification and make sure that that is the intention, is to move forward with that budget as proposed by the budget committee.
I don't know, it's been how many years since any of those positions have seen an increase?
And if that's the case, we'll push it through in the next payroll. Because I believe the next one will, the stipend positions, the appointed positions are paid monthly. That happens around the first pay period of the month, so that will take effect in this next payroll.
And I'm sorry, just to reiterate, the town tax collector will be getting a 6% increase?
I think it was a 6.6% increase, or 6.8.
Is,
Town clerk and deputy town clerk will each be getting $1.
Correct.
and so with the town clerk, the 6.8% increase, he's,
Tax collector.
the tax collector, did they, I was on the budget committee, I don't remember giving a specific dollar amount.
No, so the tax collect salary is part of the finance administration budget, so it's kind of enveloped into that,
Right.
you know, the bookkeeper, the treasurer, the accounting software. So the total salary for the tax collector and deputy tax collector for 2024, bless you, was $15,660, and then the proposed 2025 was $16,729. So I mean, when you're looking at those figures, it's only $1,100 difference from year to year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's based on the hours that she works. It's an hourly position.
Any other questions on the budget?
I think we're doing all right.
Thanks, Ellen. Town beach plan for 2025. So I know we opened the town beach right on time at the last minute last year.
It was
and-
late.
Was that?
It was late.
It was late, it was
It was
after?
late.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Oh, yeah, it was a month late, or a couple months late. So, and one of the things we had come to an agreement with the landowners as far as having that access to the town beach using that road, is getting feedback from the rec department and the police department as far as how it went and figuring out how we want to move forward with the next year. It's a year-to-year agreement with the landowners, and also on how we want to have it run, so. And I know that you sent out Courtney's feedback.
Yes. Which is here in memo form.
Okay.
In addition, I did request the call volume from the police department, and because the town beach doesn't have an official address, there's no structure. It was a little bit difficult for them to query. They had to pull together the calls that took place at the intersection of Flutter and Deerfield, or she tried to pull it the best she could, but she only came up with a total of 20, I think it was 21 or 24 calls, but Chief Woodman did not think that that was a fair representation of the number of calls that were received for the town beach, whether it be, trespass or,
And that was from
Whatever
July through
matters.
those 2 months.
correct.
Should I read Courtney's memo, or?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, it
Okay.
gives her opinion of,
So this is from Courtney, our rec director. I wanted to provide some information to the board from the rec's perspective on the town beach season 2024. Last year, the decision to open the beach was made at the very last minute, which did cause a bit of panic when it came to finding gate openers and closers and getting the beach lines in. I was lucky that 2 of my staff members stepped up, but they will not be returning, nor could they cover all summer long with family trips, etc. There was a misunderstanding that someone will be there all day, but that type of position was not in the operating budget at the time and is not for this year either. With the uncertainty, the rec will not be utilizing the beach this year, and we cannot secure enough lifeguards. We need at least 2, and they must be 16 years or older. The community cleanup day is in 2 weeks, and we will not have the beach as an option this year. As I've said before, we have never really had the resources to run this property properly, at least since I have been here. We cannot hold anyone to the rules, as we cannot oversee the property daily or have a team of staff down there in the summer. I pay gate attendants to open and close the gate, and that is all. Kayaks are launched, dogs are brought in, and drug and alcohol use are common. I do not recommend opening the beach until there is a plan to have someone staffed down there during the hours of operation. Last year, we received a few calls from community members about the beach not opening on time, but once it was opened, it was quiet on our end and seemed like not much use during the days. I did have members of the community say they were still going to use it as a kayaking launch, to which I told them they needed to go down to the boat launch for. It does seem like there isn't a lot of respect for the rules that we have posted there. I understand there were still many trespassing calls for the PD. Whatever the board decides, the rec will do what we can to assist in monitoring this property.
so as a result of this, we met on Friday and kind of tossed around the idea of coming up with a parking lot / beach monitor position, knowing that it's not feasible to have somebody stand posts between the current posted hours of 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So we tossed around the idea of pulling together a job description for that person that could possibly assume that responsibility during what I guess a potential schedule change, which would be Thursday to Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Whether or not we're going to be successful in finding somebody that might fit that criteria, it would give some type of a plan to make sure that it is only Nottingham residents that are using the beach, and to just have a set of eyes down there to, keep an eye on the property and maybe thwart some of those liability concerns for both the town and for the landowners, for having absolutely no oversight whatsoever. So Courtney did draft up a job description, which I circulated off to you. I'm still going through it and putting my thoughts on it, but we would like to get it advertised to see if we can come up with somebody that might fit that role and give everybody a good sense of security, or we can stop the efforts and plan now that maybe the beach won't be reopening for 2025. I guess that's up for discussion this evening.
And I think some of the other concerns with it, there are non-residents using the beach as well as residents, because it sounds like potentially, I'm not saying the state is doing this, but people are getting turned away from the state park, and then they know that our beach exists, so they head down there. And then there's still a lot of people walking and taking bikes down the road to it, which is, it's not supposed to be for foot traffic, and no pets supposed to be down there. And obviously, Courtney had mentioned the kayaks, which I had heard last year too, there's a lot of people still putting kayaks in at the beach, which they're not supposed to. So the purpose would be to have this person, which we had talked about this last year, but we're in a default budget, so we couldn't do it anyway, is, well, maybe if we reduce the hours, I mean, I'm not sure how many people showed up there at 9 o'clock. I know when I went down to open it up in the morning, there was never a line of cars waiting to get in at 9 o'clock in the morning, so,
Tim, were you saying that kayaks are being launched there, or?
yes, they're not supposed to be.
You're right,
Yeah.
good point to know,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, I don't know, I think it would give us an opportunity to gauge how much is being used and how much effort we want to put into.
And 24 hours a week, we did rough calculations and figured it was gonna be about, if we could find somebody to fill all 24 hours, to have that person be the gate opener, closer during those hours, and then be present, we figured that was gonna be a basic budget of about $5,800. And of course, inclement weather would be one of those scenarios where it wouldn't be opened.
I live nearby. I have a chance to go by frequently. And yeah, there are a lot of out-of-state cars. I mean, it's clearly been so abused. And occasionally my husband and I have gone down, and it just doesn't seem like it's being used very much either.
Yeah.
Um,
The couple times that I went, there was like, one person had a current sticker, one person had an old sticker, and one person had no sticker, but then there wasn't really anybody there. You know, and another time I went, that they were working on the shed and painting it, so it was just volunteers helping to do that, so, and there was really nobody using the beach.
Yeah, I didn't see it used very much either. And from what I hear from the police chief too, there are a lot of calls there.
So the
It's a real
problem,
thing.
right, the problem is, I'm not sure keeping the beach closed is going to change the number of calls. And it, you know, I think we should do what we can to keep the beach open so that people can use it appropriately. But we want to make sure that they follow the rules.
I think having a dedicated person down there would help, because you have somebody keeping an eye on things to make sure not only that the residents are using it, but the people that are using it are going to the beach and not wandering anyplace else, onto the dam or anything
Right.
else.
Yeah,
Right, there's no place to walk from there.
right. And maybe give the dog walkers a heads up
Mhm.
too.
So thoughts, would you be in favor of advertising for the beach monitor position and see what we get for interest?
I think we should.
Yeah, I mean, you might find a retiree or something like that,
So at what point, we're 8 weeks from opening at this point, so how much exposure do we give it before this comes back up for discussion as to the fate of the beach opening?
I'd say a month. Bring it up at our first meeting in May. See how things have gone, if you've gotten any applicants.
yeah, you can give us an update in the next meeting.
What if we don't find somebody?
That's my question.
Well, we'll kind of cover it at that point too. I mean, I agree with you that trying to keep the beach open in some access, but we gotta clean up the little details and stuff like that. I mean, we say no kayak launching. Is that our self-imposed rule too? Like, because some people have tried to go down to the state one and sometimes that's clogged. So like the weekends are busy for the area, right? The state gets clogged, the boat launch gets clogged sometimes. So then I think people are like, well, I'm in town, townie, I'm gonna try to go here, but then you get overrun with other people. But I don't know how actual,
And the responsibility is on the town to make sure that people are using our property as well as the,
who owns the boat
Access.
launch? Does the state own the boat launch?
The state
on
owns the boat
Sunday,
launch.
yes.
Yeah, the state owns the boat launch.
And the state owns it, but fishing game monitors it. It's a different, it's a confusing.
Everything around the lake seems very
It's
confusing.
confusing.
I agree with that.
Fish and Game is the state, Steve.
We're the same.
But I just think in talking, well, last year, talking to Fawn and Courtney, and then again this year, is that these aren't new issues. It's just things that have never been addressed. It's and sort of, okay, well, it happens, and like we talked about it last year, but I don't know. At some point, you have to address it. I think we're at that point where we say, okay, if we can have somebody down there dedicated to monitoring and allowing people in, and we have more processes in place to make sure that people are treating the place with respect, then we can open it.
So advertise and report back on the May 5th meeting.
Right.
Okay, I'll add it to the agenda.
So you gotta advertise it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe it will appeal to somebody more than working at the recycling center.
Hopefully it doesn't compete with the position we're trying to.
Well, I was gonna say, wait a minute, don't even put that idea out there.
All right, on to the special events license application for Northeast Watercross 2025.
Do you want to pass that down?
So this is, I think, the fourth year? Is this the fourth year? Yeah. Has everybody had an opportunity to kind of review it? I know
Yep.
the majority of us were here last year for it, so. And Charlotte, I don't think you were here. You
I-
might have been
I
at the
wasn't,
meeting.
but I was
but
sort
we're
of
talking-
follow, yeah, actually, I was at the meeting.
Mhm.
I did just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Probably that only a woman would ask, but, sounds great for all ages, it sounds like, right? It's kids through adults, is that correct? And, I don't know much about these particular vehicles. Can they not be muffled?
Nope.
They can't, okay. I figured. I just wondered with the new development going in so near you too,
Associated with it.
that pushback about the noise. And my other question was, do you allow camping or RVs during this
There's a
time?
small camping spot, area that is on our site plan. It's mostly just a race, you just take it up early next morning. Like sometimes work late on a Sunday, so
Thank
it's
you.
mostly just a race. But yes, there's a smaller area of that.
And there are 3 dates that we've got in here.
Yeah, June.
June 27th through the 29th.
June 27th to 29th.
Yep. Practice, and for each of these events, it's the same practice from 4 to 6.
It's only on Fridays, 4 to 6, and then the events are on Saturday and Sunday.
From 10 to 6. You don't, they start
Sometimes
warming
they get done earlier.
up. Okay.
They
And the,
have been getting done by like 4, and then they just do the awards after each day.
do they start warming up before 10, though?
Sometimes you might hear them trying to give the start line at 9:30, but they just have to start it up and get there, and then they shut it off.
So the 3 date timeframes are June 27th through the 29th, August 22nd through the 24th, and September 26th through the 28th.
August 22nd through what?
The 24th,
The last one?
September 26th through the 28th.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So there was a check submitted, so that would be just for the
That's for the first event. Yep.
That's all I kind of saw.
Yeah, it's 3 separate applications, right?
Right.
That's what we
That's
moved.
what you guys asked for.
Yep.
Yep, no,
Just that made
makes-
sense, because it was like, they're 3 separate entities, so yeah, they have 3 separate ones, but they don't have to pay until,
Right, 14 days
14 days
ahead,
prior.
yep.
so, and that's fine.
Do you need a motion to? It's just more.
The reason why this comes before you is because part of your special event licensing policy, the expected attendance is 500 or more. So small, if it's 100 or so, I can approve the license and then just inform you. So I would like just for it to go on record that you authorize the issuance of the license. And we can either do it per event. Last year, we did one license for all 3 events because it was the same stipulations by the department heads of what the requirements were, whether, you know, the fire permit the Friday before and the food license vendors provide their certificate 14 days in advance, the payment for each event. We just summarized it into one license application, but I can do individually as well. So I would be looking for that guidance from you.
And the emergency services that are on site are not paid for by the town.
Correct.
Just to be clear on that, because there was questions about that.
And that
years
includes
ago.
police.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was better to have 3 separate
Right.
things. Is there any changes to anything that we've put in there from the years prior to in terms of the ambulances and everything like that?
I think it makes sense to keep them 3 separate too. That way, keep the fees straight per each one, and so,
Are you
You
looking?
want to hand it to me? I can read them. It's easier to make a motion if I'm holding it. All right, does anybody have any further questions before I make a motion?
Nope.
None? All right. I make a motion to approve the special event license application for Northeast Watercross 2025 for the dates to be held on, I'll do these in order, June 27th to the 29th, August 22nd to the 24th, and September 26th to the 28th of 2025.
I'll second that.
Is that motion in a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Action items from last meeting, select board rules of procedure review. I know that Alan had sent that out, provided it to us, I think at our last meeting, and then sent it out in preparation for this meeting. Any questions on that, or any suggested edits?
no, it's,
Ms. Fife, did you have any
I
questions?
did not. Read it over. Look fine to me.
Okay.
Ellen, do they need anything? Are they all set?
Oh, no, I think you guys are all set. Thank you.
Thank you
They
for
look like
this.
they're all set with our meeting. Put that back in the yellow. until-
Any other action items for our next meeting?
Can we finally do the Raymond Road thing?
No,
I just want to get it off the
I
list.
think we're
I
still
know.
waiting for the,
I don't, yeah, they're waiting for, I think they've applied for the first couple of building permits, and
Okay.
it's just a matter of once the structure starts being erected, that's when Dale can issue the 911 addressing.
All right, fine.
just on there as a reminder so we don't forget.
I know.
Any public comment?
no, the public's all even.
What's that?
The public is all even.
Public is.
There's still 2.
Not everybody.
That's all I know, but
I forgot to
Two
share
left.
with you,
2 are on the way out the door.
I forgot to share with an email that I got from Skip Severns, and it's related to the special event licensing. And
I did review it.
That would be good, because that was the one that it wouldn't open.
Mine wouldn't open either.
Okay, so I'll read it so you have it into the record. I'll start with the fact I'm not truly in favor of these policies that invoke a fee that does not seem to stop the event due to imposed fees or benefit the town monetarily. So since this policy is in effect, I would like to address 2 issues. I suggest adding a sentence, quote unquote, "All license fees shall be waived if 100% of the proceeds from the event benefit a Nottingham charity," to section VC, issuance of license. It is my belief that this additional statement might encourage more benefit for Nottingham. Let it be known, he's on the board of the Friends of Nottingham Parks and Recreation and Nottingham Charity. And then section VBIB, quote unquote, "Any abutter or affected party." I find it interesting the abutter or affected party is not involved in the process to begin. It seems to me that the abutters and affected parties should have been listed as part of the application process and involved in the approval process. Involvement after the fact seems to be too late. Thank you for your consideration into this matter. So this would be amendments to our special events licensing policy. The only comment that I would like to make, especially with the one that just received its approval, they have already received planning board approval for these events, which is why the abutter processing and notification doesn't take place. Obviously, you offer it as an agenda item based on the attendance to give the public the ability to come forward with any concerns that they might have, or even to appeal your decision to the zoning board of adjustment if they so choose.
That's been done, yeah.
Right,
abutters
correct.
have
But I do think that he does have a reasonable request for an amendment possibly to that special event policy for something that may benefit Nottingham. If you want to consider it. Yes, I'll forward it to you.
Just have to download it first.
No, it doesn't even download.
Only
Oh, really?
downloaded.
It's one of the.
It's when I save it as an Adobe PDF
It's. for the
rather than
best
just forward it
experience.
individually.
Oh, is
For
that
some
what it
reason,
is?
that file
That
opened
That
fine.
particular one wouldn't come
No, that
through.
one
The
for
others
me
did.
opened fine, but the
Oh,
other
it did.
ones, the formatting was like all messed
Oh,
up. So I was
mine
like trying
was
to
just
read
the
them and I'm
opposite,
like,
yeah.
I don't know what this is saying.
One of these days, we're gonna pull everything into a OneDrive account because we have that capability, and you're just gonna be able to go in there and see it all.
Oh, I hate OneDrive.
So are the
Google's
right, are the right things attached to the right person? Because
I hope so.
Yeah, it does, it said Severn.
in the email, they were like mixed up.
Oh, are you
Full.
talking about the
Yeah,
trustees?
no, so it's still mixed up.
Oh,
Well, that's how they got scanned, was the way that they're attached,
well,
so of
well-
course they're gonna be mixed up.
That's why I was
I'm just making
checking.
sure you're paying attention.
sometimes yes, sometimes no. I have a question too, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but, the camping part of this isn't the event, but there's camping, that's all?
Yeah, she had said that they're approved on part of their site plan review for a camping section.
Small camping section. I don't know how many,
This is for the people that go.
right.
For the- right.
So they can spend
The
the
presenters.
No, I get the reason why they
The
would, but that
competitors.
kind of
It's the
extends
competitors.
the use, right, of the.
But that's not in our purview, that's the
Yeah, that's
planning
not
board.
part-
Thank you, well, that's, yeah, I get it now.
That's not
Somebody
part of
else
the-
has gone through that, they've gone through a site plan review, like, while it seemed probably long to them for the last 2 hours or hour and a half. Their other part through the planning board was much more rigorous and stuff like that.
Thank you.
With no public comment, we do have a non,
Steve, do you want to make comment on the April 26th?
I always want to champion, again, this is for the record, all of you folks have a Denver boot on your car. And once you say you go to the, on April 26th, the alarm ride in Nottingham Square, you can go home tonight. It's a really neat event. We have 5 different militia groups from throughout New England. They're gonna participate. And what's really unique is this is the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord. That's a very big deal. And so New Hampshire played a big role in, we rallied once the rider came up from Boston and said, the the
British
regulars
regulars.
are coming. We marched 60 men from Nottingham Square to Medford in 24 hours. And the battle was over, and many of them stayed on for the Battle of Bunker Hill. So it's a big deal for the 250th, and that's why we're doing, Celebrate Nottingham Committee and the First New Hampshire Regiment. I'm making it, it's gonna be a big deal.
Great.
So I'm hoping you all can come.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have non-public to go into.
Oh, shucks, you're gonna kick me out again. Should I take it personally?
Hadn't we done that earlier?
So after non-public, we'll come back out and close the public portion of the meeting.
All set. All right, I make a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91-A:3(2) on A, B, E, and L.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Hi, John Decker.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I, Matt Sherland.
I, Charlotte Fife.
Thank you. Good night, Nottingham.